Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Let me ask you a question. How many English words have you memorized, only to forget them a week later? How many grammar rules have you studied, but when it comes time to actually speak, your mind goes completely blank? If this has happened to you, you're not alone. I know that struggle because I've lived it myself. For years, I thought the key to English fluency was memorizing vocabulary lists and grammar rules. I carried notebooks full of words. I underlined sentences in books. I highlighted paragraphs. But when it came time to speak, all that knowledge disappeared. And then something changed. I discovered the secret to learning English naturally, without endless memorization. A way of learning where English actually sticks, where words feel like they belong to you, where grammar comes out naturally without forcing it. In this video, I'm going to share that secret with you. I'll explain why memorization doesn't work, how natural learning works instead, and I'll give you clear steps you can follow so that you can finally make English part of your life without the stress of memorizing. Stay until the end, because I'll also share some specific daily habits that helped me learn naturally and that you can start using right after this video. Section 1. Why memorizing doesn't work. Let's start by talking about memorization. Most of us grew up in school systems where memorizing was the main strategy. Memorize the meaning of a word. Memorize the rules of grammar. Memorize lists for a test. But here's the problem. Memorization is short-term. You can force information into your brain for an exam, but if you don't use it, you lose it. Think about it. How many times have you memorized a new word and then, a week later, you can't remember it anymore? That's because your brain doesn't keep information that it doesn't use. Another problem is that memorization is disconnected from real-life use. If you learn a word from a list, like to stroll, to wander, to meander, without context, your brain has no picture, no feeling, no situation connected to that word. It's just an empty sound. And because it's disconnected, when you try to speak, your brain has to search through hundreds of memorized words, like flipping through a dictionary, instead of just pulling the word naturally. That's why so many learners know about English but can't use English. Section 2. The secret. Learning naturally through context and use. So what's the alternative? The secret is this: you learn English naturally the same way you learned your first language, through context, repetition, and use. Think about how children learn their mother tongue. They don't sit with vocabulary lists. They don't memorize grammar rules. They listen, they see, they imitate, they repeat. And slowly, their brain builds patterns. This is the natural way of learning a language. Not by forcing words into memory, but by living with the language, hearing it in meaningful situations, and using it in real communication. When you hear the same word again and again, connected to a picture or a feeling, your brain doesn't just memorize it. It absorbs it. It becomes part of your natural memory. For example, imagine you hear the word coffee every morning when someone says, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" And you see the drink, smell it, taste it. You don't have to memorize the word coffee. You just know it because it's connected to your life. That's the secret. No memorizing lists. Instead, learn through exposure, connection, and repetition. Section 3. How I discovered this secret. Let me share how I discovered this for myself. At first, I was just like most learners. I carried notebooks full of new words. I forced myself to write them again and again. I thought repetition alone would make them stick. But every time I had a conversation, I forgot everything. Then I changed my approach. Instead of memorizing, I started surrounding myself with English. I listened to podcasts. I watched TV shows without subtitles. I read simple books that I enjoyed. I started speaking out loud, even if it was just to myself. At first, it felt slow. I didn't understand everything. But then, something amazing happened. Words started to appear in my brain automatically, without effort. Grammar patterns came out correctly, even though I never studied the rules deeply. That's when I realized my brain was learning naturally, through repetition and context, not through memorization. Section 4. How natural learning works in the brain. Let's look at the science behind it. Your brain has two types of memory: explicit memory and implicit memory. Explicit memory is what you use when you memorize facts for a test. It's conscious, it takes effort, and it's temporary. Implicit memory is what you use when you ride a bike, when you type on a keyboard, when you speak your native language. It's unconscious, effortless, and long-lasting. When you memorize word lists, you're using explicit memory. That's why it doesn't last. But when you learn naturally by hearing, seeing, and using English, you're training your implicit memory. That's why it sticks. This is why children never forget their first language, even if they stop studying it. It's because it's part of their implicit memory. And this is what you want to build for your English. A deep, natural memory that doesn't require force, because your brain has absorbed it through real use. Section 5. The principles of natural learning. So how do we actually learn English naturally? There are three main principles. Input before output. First, you need to hear and read a lot of English before you can speak it naturally. Just like children listen for years before speaking. Context over memorization. Words must be learned in real situations. Not apple equals a fruit, but I'm eating an apple, while actually seeing or eating an apple. Repetition through exposure. You don't memorize a word once. You meet it again and again in different situations, and slowly it becomes yours. With these three principles, your English becomes automatic, not forced. Section 6. Practical steps for natural learning. Let's turn these principles into action. Step 1. Surround yourself with English input. Choose things you enjoy: podcasts, YouTube channels, TV shows, books, or articles. Don't force yourself with boring textbooks. Pick content you love so your brain wants to return to it. Step 2. Connect words to real life. Don't just study the word umbrella. Use it. I'm taking my umbrella because it's raining. The more you connect words to your daily experiences, the faster they stick. Step 3. Speak from day one. You don't need perfect grammar to start speaking. Talk to yourself, describe what you see. Speak into your phone recorder. The more you use words, the deeper they go into memory. Step 4. Listen and repeat. Shadowing is one of the most powerful natural methods. Listen to a native speaker, repeat immediately, copy their rhythm and pronunciation. This makes your speech natural without memorizing phonetic rules. Step 5. Read and notice patterns. When you read, don't try to memorize every word. Notice how sentences are built. Notice which words often go together. Your brain will start to recognize patterns without you forcing it. Step 6. Review naturally. Instead of sitting with flashcards, review by rewatching, rereading, or re-listening to things you enjoy. Each time, your understanding goes deeper. Section 7. Tiny habits that make a big difference. Here are some tiny habits I built that completely changed the way I learned. Morning English. Each morning, I read or listened to something in English for just 5 minutes. It set the tone for the day. Talk to myself. When cooking, cleaning, or walking, I described my actions in English. Daily phrase. I picked one phrase I liked and tried to use it at least 3 times during the day. English media. Instead of scrolling in my native language, I switched my YouTube and social media to English. Reflection. At night, I wrote 2 or 3 sentences in English about my day. These small habits made English part of my daily life, and that's what made it natural. Section 8. the freedom of no memorizing. One of the best feelings in this journey was freedom. No more carrying notebooks full of words I'd never use. No more guilt about forgetting grammar rules. No more stress about memorizing 20 words a day. Instead, I felt light. I just lived with English. I listened, I spoke, I read, I wrote, and the language grew naturally inside me. That's what I want for you. To free yourself from the pressure of memorizing and to enjoy the process of natural learning. Section 9, Common Mistakes to Avoid. But be careful, many learners make mistakes when they try natural learning, expecting quick results. Natural learning is slower at first, but much deeper in the long run. Choosing content that's too hard. If you don't understand anything, you'll get frustrated. Start with simple, interesting material. Avoiding speaking. Input is important, but you must also speak, even imperfectly, to activate your knowledge. Being inconsistent. 10 minutes every day is better than 2 hours once a week. Consistency is the secret ingredient. Section 10, My Transformation. Let me tell you what happened after I switched to natural learning. First, it felt like nothing was changing. I listened and listened, but I couldn't see progress. But then, slowly, things began to click. I started understanding movies without subtitles. I started answering questions without thinking too much. Words that I had never memorized just came out of my mouth. That was when I realized I wasn't just studying English anymore. I was living it. And once you live a language, it becomes part of you forever. Section 11, How you can start today. So how can you start learning naturally today? Pick one piece of content in English that you enjoy, maybe a short podcast episode, a YouTube video, or a simple article. Listen or read it every day for 1 week. Don't worry about understanding everything. Just enjoy it. Each day, try to repeat one phrase or sentence from it. Use it in your own speaking or writing. After a week, choose another piece of content and repeat the process. This simple practice, repeated again and again, will slowly rewire your brain to learn naturally. Conclusion. So, what's the secret to learning English naturally? It's this: stop memorizing and start living with the language. Surround yourself with input you enjoy. Connect English to your daily life. Speak without fear. And let your brain absorb the language through real use. It might feel slower at first, but trust the process. Because what you gain is not short-term memory for a test. It's real, natural fluency that lasts a lifetime. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with a friend who is struggling with memorization, and subscribe to the channel for more practical tips on learning English the natural way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.